He thought inviting his poor ex-wife to his wedding would humiliate her, one last twist of the knife after years of bitterness. But when she walked through the doors of the church, every guest went silent, including him, because she wasn't the broken woman he remembered. She carried a secret, one that would flip his entire world upside down before he could even say, "I do." He always imagined this day would be perfect. The day he'd stand at the altar with a woman who wasn't a burden, who didn't drain him emotionally or financially, a woman who fit into his world like she'd been carved from the same marble his ambitions were chiseled from. That woman was Claire, wealthy, elegant, daughter of a prominent real estate family in Arizona. She was everything he thought he deserved after dragging himself through the mud of poverty he associated with his past, especially with his ex-wife, Emily. So when Claire suggested inviting Emily to the wedding, just to be polite, she said with a cold sort of smile, he went along with it. Maybe even liked the idea. After all, what could show how far he'd climbed more clearly than having his poor, ordinary ex-wife watching him marry into wealth? He pictured her walking and wearing the same cheap clothes she always wore, nervously sitting in the back row, probably hiding behind her hair the way she did when she was embarrassed. He imagined the pitiful whispers from his friends. Is that his ex-wife? Poor thing. She looks like she's barely holding it together. He definitely upgraded. He told himself it wasn't revenge. Not really. Just closure. But deep down, he knew better. The morning of the wedding, he stood in the groom's room adjusting his tie for the 10th time. His best man, Tyler, slapped him on the back. "Man, you nervous, or what? You keep touching that tie like it owes you money." "Just making sure everything's perfect," he muttered. Tyler snorted. "It's already perfect. Claire looks like she walked off a magazine cover. And your ex, she probably doesn't even show. I mean, hell, why would she? She can't be thrilled to watch you marry a millionaire's daughter." He shrugged, but the conversation stuck in his chest like a splinter. Emily, would she show? He hadn't seen her in 2 years. Their marriage had ended quietly. No screaming, no lawyers, no dramatic fights. Just exhaustion. The kind that sits between two people until the silence becomes heavier than any words. She worked 2 jobs. He worked long hours trying to climb his company's ladder. Schedules didn't match, dreams didn't match, and eventually hearts didn't match. Still, sometimes he remembered the way she'd wait up for him with a bowl of reheated soup, or the way she'd run her fingers through his hair when he fell asleep on the couch, or how she smiled when they danced in their tiny kitchen the day they moved into their first apartment. He shook the thoughts off. Emily was the past. Claire was the future. As the ceremony approached, guests began to fill the decorated church. Sunlight filtered through the stained glass windows, scattering soft colors across the polished floor. Everything smelled of roses and expensive perfume. He tried to act like he wasn't watching the doors every 2 minutes. "She'll show," Claire whispered as she passed him before getting ready. Her lips curled in that subtle smirk he pretended not to notice. Women like her never move on.
He didn't respond.
The ceremony music began. Guests shuffled into their seats. The pastor stepped up to his place. Tyler gave a thumbs up. His heart pounded. Then the church doors opened. Every head turned. Every whisper stopped. He felt his breath halt in his throat, because the woman stepping inside didn't look like Emily. Except she was. She walked with quiet confidence he had never seen in her, shoulders straight, chin lifted. Her hair was no longer the plain brown he remembered. It flowed in soft, glossy waves. She wore a deep emerald dress that looked tailored for her, accentuating curves she used to hide under oversized sweaters. She looked radiant. Not wealthy, not flashy, but effortlessly elegant. Next to her was a little boy, maybe 4 years old, holding her hand. The groom felt the ground shift beneath him. The boy had his eyes. Tyler leaned in, whispering harshly, Is that her kid?" His chest tightened.
No.
Impossible. Emily would have told him, right? They had divorced cleanly, like 2 people agreeing to remove a band-aid. No hostility, no secrets, or so he thought. Emily looked around for a moment, scanning the room. When her gaze finally met his, She offered a polite, gentle smile. Not nervous. Not awkward. Almost like she wasn't affected at all. That bothered him more than he expected. She didn't look like a woman destroyed by his success. She didn't look like someone who wished she was in Claire's shoes. She looked healed. Complete in a way she never was with him. Suddenly, it wasn't her presence humiliating her. It was her absence from his current life. Claire noticed the shift in the room too. She followed everyone's line of sight, and when she saw Emily and the child, her jaw tightened so sharply he thought she might crack a tooth. She actually showed up, she hissed to her bridesmaid. And with a kid? God, how tacky. But the bridesmaid's attention wasn't on Claire anymore. It was on the groom. His face gave him away. Because he wasn't looking at Emily like a man looking at an ex-wife. He was looking at her like a man who had just realized he didn't know the whole story. The ceremony began, but his mind was nowhere in the present moment. Not on Claire. Not on the vows. Not on the perfect life he'd been chasing. Instead, he kept glancing at the boy. At Emily's calm smile. At the way she occasionally bent down to whisper something that made the child giggle. He had never been the reason Emily smiled like that. When the pastor finally reached the part where anyone could speak now or forever hold their peace, he felt the entire church hold its breath. His eyes drifted toward Emily again. She wasn't looking at him anymore. She was straightening her son's little jacket, focusing on her world, not his. And that, more than anything, shattered him. Claire noticed. She always noticed. Her fingers dug into his arm as she hissed through a tight smile. Stop looking at her. The pastor continued. Words blurred. Guests watched. Emily's son swung his legs happily, oblivious to the tension choking the air. Then his eyes, those familiar eyes, landed on the groom. And the boy smiled. A small, innocent smile. Something inside him cracked open.
His throat went dry.
His heart slammed against his ribs. He couldn't stop staring. The boy looked so much like...
No.
No, it couldn't be. But Emily, she had always wanted kids. And he'd always told her, not now. Not until I'm successful. He had pushed it off again and again, until she stopped asking. Until she stopped dreaming out loud. Until she stopped being the woman who danced with him in the kitchen. He swallowed hard. Was it possible? Claire leaned toward him again, voice shaking with annoyance. Why is she staring at you like that? Why is her kid staring at you like that? He didn't answer. Because suddenly, for the first time in years, he felt fear. Real fear. Fear that he had been wrong about everything. Fear that the past wasn't done with him. Fear that this wedding might not be the victory he thought it was. The pastor cleared his throat, bringing him back to the moment. Do you take this woman? But the groom didn't hear the rest. Because Emily looked up, and their eyes met again. And this time, he saw something in her gaze that made his heart stop.
Truth.
A truth he had been too selfish, too blind, too proud to see. A truth that would unravel everything. He opened his mouth. But the words wouldn't come. Not yet. Not in front of everyone. Not until he knew. The ceremony continued, but for him, the world had already changed. And Emily hadn't even said a word. The reception hall buzzed with music, laughter, and clinking glasses, but he felt as if he were underwater. Everything muted, distorted, distant. Guests congratulated him, shook his hand, toasted to his bright future, but the words slid past him like smoke. Because all he could think about was Emily and the little boy who might have been his son. Claire, on the other hand, glimmered with performative joy, hugging relatives, showing off her ring, posing for pictures with a smile that strained each time she caught him glancing toward the corner where Emily sat quietly with the child. You're ruining your own wedding, she muttered through clenched teeth when no one was looking. Will you stop acting guilty? Or obsessed? Whatever this is. I'm not, he started, but his voice cracked, betraying him. Then, why do you keep staring at her? Claire snapped, eyes narrowing. She's sitting over there like she owns the room. And that kid, God, she's using him to get attention.
His jaw tightened.
He's a child, Claire. Her lips curled. She brought him here on purpose. To make you feel something. He didn't respond because deep down, he knew Claire wasn't entirely wrong. He did feel something. He felt confusion,
Fear.
regret. A tidal wave of all the things he buried the day he walked out of the small apartment he once shared with Emily. He slipped away the moment Claire was distracted, weaving through tables until he reached the back corner of the room. Emily looked up just as he approached. She didn't jump, didn't fidget, didn't look uncomfortable. She met his gaze steadily, with a softness he didn't deserve. "Congratulations," she said gently. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. The little boy beside her toyed with a toy truck, oblivious. Up close, the resemblance was even stronger. Those same hazel eyes. That same crooked half-smile he had when he was little. A sudden ache clawed at his chest. "You look good," he forced out awkwardly. Emily lifted one shoulder in a modest shrug. "Life's been kind. Hard at times, but kind."
Hard.
Of course it had been hard. She left their marriage with nothing, no savings, no stability. He'd been too focused on climbing the corporate ladder to notice she was drowning until she finally walked away quietly, leaving her wedding ring on the kitchen counter. "Is that your?" He couldn't finish the sentence. Emily's eyes flickered toward the boy, then back to him. "His name is Noah." His stomach twisted. "How old is he?" She sighed softly, brushing a fingertip along Noah's curls. 4.
4.
The number echoed in his skull like a drum. For years. They divorced 4 years ago. They separated 6 months before that. His breath stilled. Noah had been conceived during the end of their marriage, when they were still sharing a bed, a home, a life, even if it was falling apart. So, why hadn't she told him? The music shifted to a slow romantic song, and the newlyweds were called to the dance floor. Claire shot him a death glare from across the room, her eyes screaming, "Get over here now." But he couldn't move. His voice finally emerged, hoarse. "Why didn't you tell me?" Emily lowered her gaze, her lashes trembling faintly. "Because you didn't want a child. You made that clear." He swallowed hard. "That doesn't mean—" "Emily, you should have told me. He's my son." Her expression tightened, not angrily, but painfully. "I don't know that."
"Do you?" He froze.
"Emily," his voice barely held shape. "I wrote you," she whispered. "Letters, texts, emails. I tried to tell you. For months. But you changed your number, moved apartments, switched jobs. You cut off everything connected to or us. I thought you wanted to leave that part of your life behind." Guilt stabbed through him like a blade. He had cut her off. Not out of cruelty, at least that's what he told himself at the time. He wanted a clean start. A future without financial struggle, emotional strain, or painful memories. He convinced himself that distance was necessary. He convinced himself that Emily would find peace without him. He convinced himself that she was better off unseen. But now, staring at the child who might be his, he felt the full weight of what he'd abandoned. "You should have pushed harder," he said weakly, hating himself the moment the words left his mouth. Emily flinched just barely, but he noticed. "I begged," she said quietly. "But begging only works if someone cares to listen." His stomach dropped. "Emily, I—" Before he could finish, a sharp voice cut through the air. "Oh, what a touching reunion." Claire's heels clicked loudly as she approached, her smile sharp as broken glass. Her bridesmaids watched from nearby, pretending not to eavesdrop. Emily straightened politely. "Hello, Claire. Congratulations." Claire ignored the greeting, her gaze laser-focused on him. "Your mother is asking for you. And the photographer. And literally everyone else. But of course, you're over here instead." She turned a venomous glare toward Emily. "I see your little surprise worked." Emily blinked. "I'm not here to cause anything. I was invited." "I invited you out of politeness," Claire snapped. "Not so you could flaunt whatever you think you're flaunting." Emily's brows drew together. "I didn't bring Noah for attention. He's my son. I don't hide him." "Oh, please," Claire scoffed. "You knew exactly what you were doing. Showing up looking like this, parading your kid around, trying to make yourself look like the victim." "Claire." His voice cracked like lightning. Stop. She froze, shocked. Guests turned their heads toward the sudden tension. He stepped between them, face flushed with a storm of guilt and anger. You don't talk to her like that. Claire stared at him as if he had slapped her. Excuse me? But he wasn't listening anymore. He looked at Emily, voice shaking. I need to know. Is he mine? Emily hesitated, pain flickering through her eyes. I think so. Think. Claire barked bitterly. Claire, enough. Emily exhaled slowly, steadying her voice. I never knew how to tell you. You were building a life for yourself, with people who had money, influence, everything we didn't have. I didn't want to be the reason you stayed stuck. You deserve to grow. And what about you? He whispered. What about what you deserved? Emily smiled sadly. I learned to love my life as it is. With Noah. With peace. With no more begging someone to choose me. Her words hit him harder than any accusation. Claire crossed her arms, seething. Well, this is perfect. The broken ex-wife with a sad story. Honestly, if you wanted a moment like this so badly, you could have picked a different day. Emily rose gracefully from her chair, picking up Noah in her arms. I didn't ask for a moment. I came to be polite. That's all. Noah yawned and wrapped his small arms around her neck. And now, she added softly, we'll be leaving. She turned to walk away. Panic exploded in his chest. Emily, wait. His voice cracked with desperation he couldn't hide. She paused, glancing over her shoulder. Please, he whispered. Don't leave. Not yet. Claire stepped in front of him. You're not going anywhere. You're staying with me. He looked at her. Really looked at her. For the first time, he saw the cold calculation behind her eyes. The possessiveness. The anger disguised as entitlement. She didn't want him because she loved him. She wanted him because he represented status, power, image. And suddenly, he realized something horrifying. He had become just like her. A person who valued appearance over truth. Wealth over love. Pride over responsibility. Claire, he said quietly, I need a minute. No, she hissed. We're done with this. She had her moment. This is our wedding. This is my child, he burst out. The room fell silent again. Claire's face blanched. You don't know that. He swallowed hard. I need to find out. And I can't do that if she walks away again. Emily shifted Noah on her hip, her expression unreadable. He stepped toward her, not touching, just close enough to meet her eyes. Emily, please. I'm not asking you to stay for me. Just let me talk to him. Let me talk to both of you. Her lips trembled faintly. Before she could answer, Noah lifted his head from her shoulder, eyes sleepy but curious. Mama, is that the man from the picture? The world stopped. Emily closed her eyes. Noah knew him? A photo? His heart shattered. Emily, you showed him a picture of me? She didn't answer for a moment. Then she nodded softly. He asked who his daddy was, she whispered. I told him the truth, that I didn't know if you would ever want to meet him.
But that you weren't a bad man.
Just a lost one. He felt tears sting his eyes. Claire looked between them in shock, fury, disgust, as if the entire world had betrayed her. You lied to me, she spat. I never lied, he said quietly. I lied to myself. Emily held Noah close, but tears shimmered in her eyes too, though she tried to blink them away. He took a long breath. Let's talk. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Just privately. Please. Emily looked at him for a long, heavy moment. Then she nodded once. Claire stepped forward with a trembling rage in her voice. If you walk away from this reception with her, we're done. Do you understand me?
Done.
He looked at Claire, the woman he thought he wanted. Then at Emily, the woman he once promised everything to. Then at Noah, a child who never asked for any of this. He exhaled slowly. Then we're done, he said. Gasps filled the room. Claire's hand flew to her mouth. Her bridesmaids froze. Emily's eyes widened, not with triumph, but with shock. He turned to Emily. Let's go somewhere quiet. Emily swallowed, nodding faintly. Okay. And with that, the groom, Still wearing his wedding ring from a ceremony he now wished he had stopped, walked out of his own reception, following the woman he once loved and the child who might be his. The cool evening air hit him like a wave as they stepped outside the reception hall. The muffled music, the laughter, the clinking glasses, it all faded behind the heavy wooden doors, leaving them standing in a quiet parking lot illuminated by the soft glow of amber streetlights. Emily adjusted Noah in her arms, brushing a curl from the boy's forehead. He had fallen asleep again, his tiny fist clutching the fabric of her dress. For a moment, the groom, no, not a groom anymore, he couldn't even call himself that, simply watched them. The gentle sway of Emily's body as she rocked Noah, the peaceful rise and fall of the child's breathing, the way Emily's eyes softened whenever she looked at him. It was a life he'd never let himself imagine. Something so small, so fragile, yet so complete. He cleared his throat. "There's a bench over there. Let's sit." Emily nodded, and they walked in silence across the quiet lot. The air smelled faintly of roses from discarded wedding petals that had blown outside. They sat. Emily carefully laid Noah across her lap, letting him rest comfortably before she turned back to him. He didn't know where to start. "Emily," his voice cracked, "I need you to hear me out. And I need you to be honest with me. Please." She clasped her hands together, her nerves showing despite her calm appearance. "I've always been honest with you, even when it hurt." He dropped his gaze.
Yeah.
"You were. And I wasn't. Not with you, not with myself." The silence stretched, but she waited. She always had patience, even when he didn't deserve it. He finally forced the words out. "I miss the man I used to be with you. The one who found joy in simple things. The one who didn't measure worth in money or labels or status. I don't even know when I became someone else. Maybe it was the pressure. Maybe it was fear. Maybe I just wanted to outrun the life we had because I felt small in it." Emily swallowed. "You weren't small. You were overwhelmed." He looked at her. "And you deserved better than that." She smiled sadly. "We both deserved better." Another pause. He wiped a hand over his face. "Emily, is Noah mine?" Her breath caught. She looked down at her son, smoothing his shirt gently. "I can't say with absolute certainty. But yes, in my heart, I believe he is."
His chest tightened.
"Then why didn't you fight harder?" Her eyes lifted, glassy with emotion. "Because fighting means forcing someone into your life who doesn't want to be there. When I realized you were moving on, I didn't want Noah to grow up thinking he was the reason you felt trapped." He felt a sting behind his eyes. "I never would have felt trapped by him." "You felt trapped by me," she whispered. He froze. Because she was right. He had felt suffocated, not by her, but by his own shortcomings. By the fear of failing her. By the fear of poverty repeating itself. And instead of facing those fears, he had distanced himself until there was nothing left but silence. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. "I was a coward. I kept reaching for a future I thought would fix everything, but all it did was break the things that mattered." Emily blinked rapidly, holding back tears. "We were young. We didn't know how to save each other." He nodded slowly. A moment passed. "Can I?" His voice shook. "Can I hold him?" Her breath hitched. But she nodded. Carefully, she lifted Noah and transferred him into his arms. The boy stirred, his eyelids fluttering, but didn't wake. He snuggled instinctively into the warmth of a stranger he somehow recognized. And the moment the child settled against his chest, something inside him broke open. His hands trembled. His heart hammered. He felt a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. He whispered, almost to himself, "Hi, buddy." Noah made a sleepy sound and burrowed closer. A strangled sob escaped him before he could stop it. Emily placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your life with this." He shook his head violently. "You could never ruin my life. I ruined it because I pushed you away. Because I made you face everything alone. You didn't know." "I should have known." His voice cracked. "I should have cared enough to check on you, even after we separated. I shouldn't have disappeared like you never mattered. Emily looked away, her lips trembling. I cried for a long time, wondering what I did wrong. He clenched his jaw, holding back another wave of emotion. You didn't do anything wrong. I just wanted to feel like I was worth something. And you loved me without needing me to be anything else. That terrified me. Her eyes filled. And Claire didn't? Is that why you chose her? He hesitated. No, he admitted. Claire didn't love me. She loved who I could be. She loved the version of me that fit her world. But she never knew me. Not really. Not like you did. Emily exhaled a shuddering breath. And what about now? What do you want now? He looked at her, really looked at her. At the woman who had held his heart when he didn't understand what love truly meant. At the mother of the child lying in his arms. At the person he'd thought he needed to outrun, only to realize she was the one place he had always belonged. Emily, he said softly, I want to be in Noah's life.
If you'll let me.
I want to get to know him. To be there for him. To fix what I broke. She didn't respond immediately. She studied his face, searching for sincerity. Then, finally, she nodded. I would never keep him from you. He deserves to know his father. Relief flooded him so intensely, he almost collapsed. But then she added something that made his chest tighten. But that doesn't mean we can go back to how things were. His heart sank. I know. I'm not asking for that. Her expression softened. Good. Because I've changed. I'm not the woman who cried herself to sleep wondering where she went wrong. I built a new life. I found strength I didn't know I had. I learned how to stand without someone holding me up. He felt a mix of pride and heartbreak. I can see that. You're incredible, Emily. She gave him a gentle smile. I'm just trying my best. He swallowed, carefully shifting Noah in his arms. Can I try to be part of that life? A small part? Even if it's just as the father of your son? She reached over and brushed Noah's hair.
Yes.
But we take it slow. For him, not us. He nodded. Slow is good. Slow is honest. Another pause settled between them. Emily, he whispered. Yes. If everything with Claire hadn't happened tonight, would you have ever told me? She looked up at the night sky, thinking.
Yes. Someday.
When Noah was old enough to ask harder questions. He lowered his gaze, guilt washing over him again. I don't deserve your kindness. You don't, she agreed softly. But you do deserve a chance to be a father. He blinked rapidly, emotion burning in his chest. Thank you. They sat in silence, the night breeze gently rustling the trees. The chaotic reception continued inside, but the world here felt still, peaceful. After a few minutes, Noah stirred awake. His eyes fluttered open, hazy with sleep. He blinked up at the man holding him and whispered, Mama, is this Daddy? Emily's breath hitched. He swallowed hard. Hey, Noah. Yes, Emily whispered, her voice gentler than moonlight. This is Daddy. The child smiled sleepily and reached a small hand to touch the stubble on his chin. Hi, Daddy. He broke. Tears streamed down his face as he held the child close, unable to speak, unable to breathe, overwhelmed by a love he had never known could exist. And Emily watched, her eyes glistening, not with sadness, but with something like healing. After a long moment, Noah curled back into sleep. Emily stood. We should go. It's late. He nodded, carefully handing Noah back to her. His arms felt suddenly empty. As she settled the boy against her shoulder, he spoke softly. Can I see him again tomorrow? Emily paused, then nodded. Yes. But let's meet somewhere neutral. A park, maybe. He loves the swings. A small smile tugged at his lips. I'd like that. She stepped back, adjusting Noah. Good night. Good night, he whispered. Emily started walking toward her car. He watched her go, feeling the weight of everything he'd lost and everything he'd just been given. Before she reached the door, she turned back one last time. And thank you for choosing to talk. For choosing him. He shook his head. No, Emily. Thank you for giving me the chance. She smiled, a real, warm, genuine smile. And then she left, disappearing into the night with their son. He stood there alone, the streetlights humming softly above him, the remnants of his abandoned wedding echoing faintly behind the doors. He took a deep breath. Tomorrow he would start over. Not with wealth. Not with status. Not with a perfectly staged life. But with a child who had his eyes. And a woman he never truly stopped loving, whether they found their way back to each other someday or not. For the first time in years, he felt something real. Hope.